Hello, little children. I hope you are doing well. I hope you had a great weekend. It is Mr. Moorhead back to hit you with some more social studies. So I hope that you enjoy this lesson. Where we left off, we talked about Hitler, the invasion of Poland, the invasion of the Nordic countries, and then remember Hitler turned. He went through those smaller countries and into France. Remember, France was stuck in an advanced stage of trench warfare with the Maginot Line. And the Nazis had proven that warfare had evolved. It's much faster, much more mobile. The range with which you can conduct war is much larger. And aerial warfare is now really, really important to winning battles at this point. So what we haven't got to is kind of how do we get the United States involved in the war? Remember, we've talked about the Axis powers. That's Italy, Germany, and Japan. And then we have talked about the Allied powers, which at this point, it's pretty much just Great Britain. France has been defeated. So let's take a look at how Japan gets involved in the war. Now, one of the things that I find very interesting, there are very few 7th grade students that I have taught that cannot explain that in World War II, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. People have seen movies about it, they've seen documentaries about it, they've seen all kinds of things about Japan bombing Pearl Harbor. We even have a Pearl Harbor Day. However, the average student, and the average adult for that matter, doesn't know why they bombed us. There is a reason behind their bombing of the United States. This is their rationale. So I'm going to spend a little less time on Pearl Harbor and a little more time on the things that most people do not know about, like why did they bomb us? And more important battles than just Pearl Harbor in terms of the Japanese being defeated. So again, you'll get Pearl Harbor, but we're not going to spend tons and tons of time on it, largely because they cover it next year too. But we're going to look at like the bigger picture of what is the problem between Japan and the United States that leads to this attack. All right, friends, let's get started with that. A lot of people do not realize that World War II starts in Asia before it starts in Europe. It actually starts in Asia before it starts in Europe, and it starts a couple of years in Asia before it starts in Europe. Now, if you Google that, somebody will put it around 1939 or so, but most historians, and remember I went to a military school, most of all those guys put the date that World War II started in Asia as 1937. That's 2 years before it started in Europe. A few people will even put it at 1931. Japan had grown, they'd become a military powerhouse, and they were taking places over left and right. In 1905, they got Korea. We have Manchuria, that's the upper portion of China. Remember, we talked about the Manchus and the Qing. We talked a bunch about them. And then finally, in 1937, they invaded the main portion of China. This invasion is absolutely brutal. We hear so much about the Nazi atrocities that a lot of times this is left out. We are going to have millions of Chinese dead. Even to this day, a lot of Asian countries, when Japan has something similar to like our Veterans Day, or excuse me, our Memorial Day, Japan has something similar to that, other Asian countries will protest it. Even to this day, a lot of Asian countries are not friendly with Japan, and it kind of dates all the way back to this period. Japan killed entire cities of people. They kind of just locked the city and burned it down. So we have a lot of atrocity going on, and Japan is just devouring Asia. A lot of people don't realize it, but the United States owned the Philippines at this point. We had one possession of the Philippines in a war that we had with Spain in the early or late 1800s, early 1900s. So we have the Philippines. That's why even if you look today, you'll see a lot of Filipinos speak English. and like not a majority, but you see quite a few do. So, with that said, the United States owns the Philippines, and the Philippines is just due south of Japan. It's relatively close. Japan did not like that. Japan thought, Asia should be ruled by Asians. Now, what they really mean is Asia should be ruled by Japan. But this isn't something that Mr. Moorhead made up. This is actually like a motto of the Japanese. Asia should be ruled by Asians. They saw themselves as being the rightful conquerors and rightful rulers of Asia. So, moving on from there, the United States owned the Philippines. We're very close to them. And the United States is noticing just how devastating the Japanese invasions and these atrocities are in Asia. And the United States kind of calls Japan out on this. The United States says, hey, Japan, you're destroying these countries. We have reports of lots of folks dead. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop trading with you. Now, there are many items that were traded between Japan and the United States. We're actually pretty good trading partners at this point in history. But two items could literally devastate Japan's military, just withholding two items. And let's take a look at those two. The United States stopped trading junk cars to Japan. Now, you might say, junk cars, what's the big deal about that? Japan would recycle these. If you look at a big chunk of the Japanese Air Force and even portions of the Japanese Navy, they're made from recycled United States cars. There's other iron, other steel products that we stopped trading them, but the junk cars are a main deal. So there's several other things. Junk cars is a big one. We said we're not sending those to you anymore. Or we're going to at least limit the amount of other goods that we are going to trade you. So essentially, this is starting to shut down the Japanese military. The other one is oil. Now, we stopped trading oil in a weird way with them. We didn't stop trading oil in that, oh, Japan, we will no longer trade you our oil. That's not what we said. We did something that is a de facto. It just kind of happens, okay, as a fact of, okay? We froze Japanese money in American bank accounts. I'm going to say that again. We froze Japanese money in American bank accounts. What does that mean? Well, Japan has money in America and they're not allowed to use it. So in that system, when we freeze their money, think of you've got a piggy bank in your room and your parents grab it. It's your money, but you can't get to it. At any rate, in that system, Japan effectively, they can't buy oil anymore because they can't use their money that's here. So between the junk cars and the oil, Japan is fuming with the United States, and they still see us as a threat because we are the only country over there that stands any chance of beating them. And when I say the only country over there, we possess the Philippines. So Japan sees the only way of ridding America from Asia, and perhaps even forcing America to trade again, is an attack. And that is why Japan attacks Pearl Harbor. Again, the United States is not happy about Japan invading places. The United States is not happy about these reported atrocities that turn out to be true. And we stopped trading. We stopped trading a lot of stuff, the junk cars and eventually oil. And again, we did it by freezing their money. They just can't use money. They don't have money. They can't buy oil. In effect, we stopped oil. So anyway, the junk cars and the oil starts to cripple Japan, and they are going to strike back against America. The way they do it is they attack the United States at Pearl Harbor. So now you know why Japan attacks the United States. We're unhappy with them and their actions. They are unhappy that we have stopped trading and we are too close to them. Now, this is unique. We haven't done this yet so far with this remote schooling that we've done. I'm actually giving you 2 days of assignments. You've got my little slideshow that you listen to, but you're going to have a movie to watch. The movie is 45 minutes. I want you to spend the rest of the time, we try to keep these lessons 30 minutes or under, Spend the rest of the time, up to 30 minutes, and watch the film that I attach. You're not going to be able to watch it all in 30 minutes. Watch the rest of it tomorrow. When you have finished watching the film, I am going to attach a writing assignment to Tuesday's work. Okay? So you will answer that writing assignment and turn it in on Tuesday. So again, what I am posting, the slideshow, that's Monday. Watch half the video on Monday. Watch the other half on Tuesday, and then do the writing assignment. The writing assignment will be posted on Tuesday. So you kind of got 2 days worth of lessons off of this one slideshow and movie. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope all is well. See you soon.